We are live. Countdown. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg show. I am your host, Willie Bragg, and I want to talk about Great Britain and Ireland for a brief moment because there are some interesting news coming out. Both Great Britain and Ireland have relaxed, if not totally lifted their ban from what it looks like. And I'm choosing my words carefully because I know that how people would try to interpret things as misinformation. But what I have gotten from the news is that Great Britain's relaxed their COVID restriction. Ireland likewise relaxed their COVID restriction. They're trying to head on back to normal. And it is very simple where the USA could learn a thing or two from Great Britain and Ireland why it will work for them, but what we're doing, whether the nonsense of Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida or the extreme nonsense of Governor Gavin Newsom of California, both governors got it wrong. Great Britain and Ireland got it correct. So what I'm going to do, with no further ado, is I'm going to be playing two videos back on back, and I am going to comment shortly thereafter. So we're going to start with Great Britain.
Our journey through the pandemic
Actually, we're going to start with Ireland, then Great Britain. My bad.
has brought many twists and turns, and I have stood here and spoken to you on some very dark days. But today is a good day. Earlier, my government colleagues and I met to consider the latest report from the National Public Health Emergency Team. That report confirmed that we have weathered the Omicron storm. It confirmed that the rate of infection is reducing and that all of the key indicators on which we base our decisions have stabilised and are going in the right direction. It confirmed that Ireland's world-class vaccination programme and the rollout of boosters has utterly transformed our situation. It was our vaccinations and boosters that prevented the recent wave of infection translating into much more serious levels of illness and death. Based on this evidence, we've concluded that the rationale and justification for continuing most of our public health restrictions are no longer in place. Therefore, from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, the majority of public health measures that we have had to live with will be removed. Guidance in relation to household visiting will no longer apply. Restrictions on capacity for all indoor and outdoor events will no longer apply. Closing time for hospitality and events will return to where it was before the pandemic. The COVID pass requirement for access to hospitality and indoor activities will no longer apply. The various requirements around managing people's movements at indoor hospitality and entertainment venues will no longer be required. And a phased return to the physical workplace for all staff can now commence. Because of the international situation, there are no changes to the current measures in place in relation to international travel. And a limited number of protective measures will remain in place for the coming month. Based on the advice of NEFIT, the wearing of masks where they are currently required will continue. Similarly, protective measures will remain in place in primary and secondary schools. Also, the advice for those with symptoms, positive cases and close contacts remains in place. These will be reviewed before the end of February, by which time all children aged between 5 and 11 will have had the opportunity to be fully vaccinated. I want to be clear also that the pandemic isn't over. It will still require all of us to be vigilant. The changes we are making will likely lead to a temporary rise in infections in the short term, but we are advised that the impact of this rise will be limited by the scale of vaccination in the population. It is important also to say that I can't promise you there won't be further twists in this pandemic requiring different decisions in the future. But I do know this: solidarity with each other and trust in science has got us to where we are today and will get us through whatever else this virus may throw at us. We have come a long way since this day in 1919. Ireland is now firmly established as an equal among all the nations, and we've been a positive force in the world through our arts, our culture, our peacekeeping and our commerce. We've done this by having the confidence to be ourselves. As we face into our second century as a free democracy, and as we navigate this new phase of COVID, it is time to be ourselves again.
Okay, now we're going to go with Great Britain, and I will again likewise share some words afterwards. Let me do this here and remove the echo. And as I said, I'll be commenting very shortly thereafter.
Today's latest ONS data show clearly that infection levels are falling in England, and while there are some places where cases are likely to continue rising, including in primary schools, our scientists believe it is likely that the Omicron wave has now peaked nationally. This morning, the Cabinet concluded that because of the extraordinary booster campaign, together with the way the public have responded to the Plan B measures, we can return to Plan A in England and allow Plan B regulations to expire. As a result, from the start of Thursday next week, mandatory certification will end. Organisations can, of course, choose to use the NHS COVID pass voluntarily, but we will end the compulsory use of COVID status certification in England. From now on, the government is no longer asking people to work from home. And people should now speak to their employers about arrangements for returning to the office. And having looked at the data carefully, the Cabinet concluded that once regulations lapse, the government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere. From tomorrow, we will no longer require face masks in classrooms, and the Department for Education will shortly remove national guidance on their use in communal areas. In the country at large, we will continue to suggest the use of face coverings in enclosed or crowded spaces, particularly when you come into contact with people you don't normally meet, but we will trust the judgment of the British people and no longer criminalise anyone who chooses not to wear one.
Okay, where do I start with this? Well, the thing about it is that it's more likely to be a success story in Great Britain and Ireland than it is here for one simple reason. And that one simple reason in Ireland would be, their system of healthcare. They have universal health care in Ireland. That means that healthcare, you're not going to have to worry about being turned away from a hospital in Ireland or having to scrounge money for medicine the way you do here. Now, it is not exactly my 100% model that I'll go for. What I understand about the Irish system is basically a national health insurance system. It's not socialized medicine, and there's still a myriad of insurance companies that kind of work within the system. It's kind of like, for what I can understand, it's kind of like the Australian system, Medibank. And it's not the system that I would prefer, but it sounds like it's a better system than the Affordable Care Act here, because it does still cover a lot of basics that's not going to bleed your wallet, bankrupt you, or in worst case scenario, kill you due to non-access of healthcare. So Ireland's got that going for them. And even probably even no, there's no probably a better case. A better case is the National Health Service in Great Britain, which is one of the most socialized healthcare systems in the Western world. And it is the most socialized system. I think Italy's got something similar, Portugal, something similar to that. Most countries do like a national health insurance system, what we call what if we ever had that here, it would be called Medicare for all. But Medicare for all, national health insurance, it's not socialized medicine. It may be socialized insurance, and that's a great beginning, and it's preferable to what we got here in the United States, but I prefer the National Health Service in Great Britain, which basically is the most socialized medical system in the Western world today. They can make it work, too, because in Ireland and Great Britain, they accomplished something that the United States cannot accomplish. How to make healthcare affordable to the people, accessible to the people, and there in for use in need when you need it. Whereas, here in the United States, you have to fill out bureaucratic paperwork, even if you can afford it. They'll want you to fill out all these forms. If you fill out the wrong way, insurance company, it will try to find a way not to cover it, what have you. Over there, you're covered. With regard to other things like when people got laid off here in the United States, we had a $1,200 stimulus check 2 years ago, followed by theoretically $2,000 check, $1,600 installment here, $1,400 installment there. Whereas in Great Britain, they basically did a UBI of sorts. They basically covered 80% of people's salary and just nationalized the salary of all workers who've been laid off. And in other words, and primarily in Great Britain, they have done a better job of tackling COVID than either Donald Trump or Joe Biden here in the United States. The Democrats and the Republicans have done a very shitty job. With the Republicans, how they deal with you, if you're down on your luck, well, fuck you. Our Bible is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and that's the philosophy we go by. Fuck you if you're down on your luck. That's the Republican way. The Democratic Party's way is, we're going to provide you the nanny state without the actual nanny. In other words, we're going to micromanage your lives and make your life really difficult, but you're not going to get any financial benefit from this, and we're just going to bug the shit out of you. So either way, the Democrats and the Republicans will fuck you either way here in the United States. But in Great Britain, in spite of Labour and Tories fighting each other over this and that, and the Liberal Democrats in the UK, which is the most useless political party you can imagine, But anyway, both, all the parties in Great Britain, one thing they're kind of on the same page on is the National Health Service is a fucking good idea. We better not get rid of that. And the thing about it is that that here in the United States, we're still thinking that a public option is controversial. That's where we're at here in the United States. That the leftist position right now in mainstream politics is a public option. Oh, you're radical. You want a public option. Where public option is the only thing that would make Obamacare work worth a damn. But it's still a weak response. And the fact that we gone through this pandemic and people have lost access to healthcare and people have died because of medical inflation. And the fact that we're not even debating. In fact, the fact that Joe Biden got elected and he promised a public option. And there's no public option right now. Build Back Better was supposed to lower Medicare eligibility down to 60. Still not the perfect solution, but it was a nice little start to doing something. Can't even do that. You had Kirsten Sinema, who basically is bought and paid for by Big Pharma. Made sure that the government doesn't negotiate for lower drug prices. So this is where we at here in America. We're going to be behind everybody else because we are ass backwards, and that's the way it seems like everything is going to be perpetually. And what's going to breed the downfall of the United States is how dumb our politicians are from both parties, how dumb the people are that get sucked up into the culture war, and how people don't want to do what is right for the people. You can tackle COVID, you can preserve basic civil liberties, and you can save lives with universal health care. I don't know why we can't figure that out here in the United States. We can't figure this out. I mean, it's like this country gets dumber and dumber and dumber all the time. I just honestly don't understand America sometimes. It was a time I think that we would have actually worked on a universal healthcare system if COVID would have hit. I think 50 years ago we would have done it. But today there's just so much crony capitalist corruption that nothing can get done, and both parties are the result of the shit we're in, the shit storm we're in today. People, we need a third party. We need a fourth party. We need a sixth party. We need we need 66 parties. We certainly don't need the bullshit that we're having to put up with by our dumbass politicians from both parties. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. Comment any ways you disagree. Go ahead and hit the notification bell. Hit that subscribe button. Please share the content on this channel. It's First Amendment Absolutist. It's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Keep the red flag flying. Keep that class struggle going. Free Julian Assange. And yeah, I said it before and I'll say it again. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Take it easy. Take it easy.